Where'd you get that? Where'd you hear that? How do you know? What's your source? How many of you heard questions like that? People may have offered ideas to you, or you may have shared thoughts, and they're asking questions constantly. Where'd you get that? Where'd you hear that? How do you know? What's your source? Where are you getting all this stuff from? Questions, questions, questions. You know, questions are actually very powerful, for they unfold opportunities for us to gain insight. And it's good to ask questions. In every one of our classes in the Emerson Theological Institute, we're always inviting people. It's okay to ask a question. It's okay to raise your hand. It's okay to interrupt, because what's more important is sometimes we've experienced some amazing unfolding of insight through the individual question that's been asked. And that's more important than necessarily achieving the goal of concluding a particular chapter of our study, whatever it may be. Questions are really important for us to be asking. Jesus was asked questions. As a master teacher, we have a beautiful example of him. He's been confronted by religious leaders of the day and age of the time. And as he entered into the temple courts, it shares in Matthew 21, that while he was teaching, the chief priests and elders of the people came to him and said, "Wait a minute, by what authority are you doing these things? And who gave you this authority?" In other words, where'd you get this information? What's going on? What's your source? Where'd you hear that? We want to know. Well, you can imagine that's our story too. For the world is asking us constantly, what's your source? Where are you hearing that? And what do we say? What do we talk about when we say, where is that source? What is that source within us? Where's this coming from, that you're experiencing this powerful faith that's so dynamic, that can believe for miracles? Where's this coming from, that you're speaking these wonderful truths, that in the midst of challenges, you're saying God will make a way when there seems to be no way? Right. You know it. You're saying it. Well, what's your source? Where did you hear that? Where did you get these ideas? John chapter 14, verse 24 shares with us that Jesus said, "The word which you hear is not mine, but it's the divine source, or the Father's, who sent me." And who is this Father? Well, we often understand and we refer to it as that divine source because we understand that word Father and what it meant for those of that ancient time. Father being the source for the family, for the home. It symbolized for us our divine source, that wonderful divine source that dwells within each person, within our hearts and our lives. Jesus said that. Where is the Father? Well, what did he teach us? In heaven. But where's this thing called heaven? Well, it's a spiritual realm. It's within, right? Where's heaven? Oh, wait a minute. Some of us are still struggling. I can see your faces and saying, wait a minute. I thought heaven is up in the sky where I'm going in the big by and by. I'm going to go there someday. And one of those days, if I'm lucky, I'll make it. Oh, but heaven is here. And heaven is now. And the opportunity for you to go to heaven is available in this very moment, to come to this place of higher understanding. For the Spirit of God dwells within each and every one of us. And when you pray, where do you go? Well, Scripture said, invite us, you go within. We go within because God dwells within. And where is then this kingdom of heaven? It's within. So what do we understand when we see the unfolding of all this powerful teaching? The divine source dwells within each and every one of us. This is where we go to experience our highest and best. Jesus encouraged his disciples, saying that when they deliver you up, do not worry about what you're going to say or how to speak, for it will be given to you in the hour that you should speak. For it is not you who will speak, but the Spirit, the divine source, who's going to speak in you. Ooh, I love that. It's speaking in you, not speaking outside of you, not speaking for you, but speaking in you, resonating in your life. It speaks in you in this wonderful way that's constantly telling us, where's the source? Where are you getting this? Where's it coming from? It's coming from within our lives at all times. And knowing the source is so key because you always want to return back to your source, right? You got something good, some good information. You always want to go back to that source. You always want to go back. Where did you hear this? I'm going to get some more from that source. Where did you get that? Where did you hear it? How did you know that? I'm going back to that source to get more, that divine presence within. Now, you may have had these wonderful experiences. I know you have because I've heard your testimonies of the divine presence unfolding in miraculous ways in your life. And with that, you want to say, I want to go back. I want to go back and get some more. I want to go back to that place. So it's really understanding what is our real source. Now, nature all around, look at these beautiful trees unfolding for us, and we're seeing the whole world around us greening up, how beautiful it is. Nature speaks to us about the divine source in such beautiful ways. And if you listen, nature is always trying to teach, always trying to illustrate, always trying to show us, always trying to speak to us. We look at the trees around us, especially those blooming fruit trees, and we think about the cherry trees or apple trees and how beautiful they are as they're all in blossom right now. And we think, what's the source? Oh, it's got to be the fruit. No, the fruit is not the source. Oh, it's got to be the branches. And oh, I'm sorry to tell you, it's not even the branches that are the source. Well, then it's got to be the seed. And oddly enough, it's not even the seed. It's what's in the seed that's the source. It's what's inside, within, that is the source. It's the life within the seed, that intelligent, invisible life that's the real source within. You want to know where your source is, what your source is? It is within you, this intelligent, powerful presence called the divine within each and every one of our lives. It is this life flowing through us that is full of infinite possibilities. It is there within you for you to tap into at all times. Now, we've been so conditioned to believe that our source is outside of our lives. We've want to believe that our source certainly is our source of blessing, our source of abundance. Well, what's our source? It's our job. It's our paycheck. It's our material things. It's all those things around us we want to say constantly. We've been so conditioned to believe in outside things as our source. But let me tell you this. All of those outside things, they rust, they fade, they deteriorate, they depreciate. Jesus spoke about it in teaching us to say, lay your treasures in places or in a place where there is no rust, there is no deterioration, there is no depreciation. It's to lay your treasure, your heart, to be where your treasure is in this heavenly realm of that wonderful presence within our lives. That's where our real source is. For everything is within us. Therefore, life flows from us, not to us. So many times in life, we're waiting for life to flow through us. Where's that opportunity coming to us? Where's that blessing coming to me? I'm waiting for something to come to me. I'm waiting for something outside of my life to happen for me. I'm constantly waiting and waiting for this to unfold in some way. When we realize that life flows out from us, that divine source is eager to unfold. For that kingdom of heaven is within, God dwells within, that love is within, and go within, says the scripture. It's all saying over and over, where's the source? Within. Yet somehow we think we've got to go out and look outside, search for things outside. And it's really an inside-out world. Now, if you could get that, understand this principle. It's really from the inside out that all the blessings, the goodness, the love, the grace, all that you're seeking, it's there and it flows from the inside out. Now, we put our minds and our thoughts and our attention on all kinds of sources outside. I'm waiting for you to show me love. I'm waiting for you to give me grace. I'm waiting for you to bless my life. I'm waiting for you to do this. And I need you all to do something for me on the outside when, wait a minute, suddenly we're realizing it's all happening within us. And as we share, as we give, as we put out, as we reflect, as we radiate out, we find everything within is there. The world has nothing to give us except feedback and an opportunity to express what's happening in our life. This world around us is all that they have is this, to give us this feedback. It's like a mirror. A mirror can't reflect back to you any more or less than what's in front of it. Now, I look in the mirror and sometimes I'd say, come on, mirror, could you not reflect a little more hair for me, please? Could you not reflect a little thinner? Could you not reflect maybe a little youthfulness? Come on, mirror, work with me. But I'm sorry, the mirror constantly says, I will reflect back what you put in front of me. And when we understand that, that's life. saying, I will reflect back what you put out, what you're sharing. The universe is so eager in generous ways to meet the desires of our heart, but what are we putting out in front of the universe that it can mirror back to us, that it can reflect for us? This is the way the presence of God works within our hearts and our lives. So when we understand this, we truly then get this concept that we're in the world, but we're not of the world. Now that's kind of a tricky one to say. Wait a minute, aren't we all in this world? We're living in it right now. We're in this world, but we're not of the world. We're not of this physical realm because we know, as we said in our opening, that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. So our focus, our thought life, our whole consciousness is centered around we're living in a spiritual realm, not the physical limitations of this world. But sometimes we're so focused on that physical limitation. I looked at my bank account. I looked at my bills. I looked at this and I looked at that, and all I can see is limitation. I said I'm one who's living on a fixed income. And that says it's stuck income. That's all I get is my stuck income. We say these kind of things over and over again. We don't realize that we're saying I'm living in a physical world and its limitations are confining me. But suddenly then we waken to realize the divine source within us is unlimited. And that divine source in us is that which makes a way when there seems to be no way. But we have to understand that if you want more than to come to your life, you've got to let more of life come out of you. It starts with you. So it's this unbelievable process that says, wow, do you mean that the more I give of myself, the more I share, the more will come back to me? Yes, that's exactly it. When we understand this, we are understanding the power of this. You know that the word for man in Sanskrit is this. It's called dispenser of divine gifts. Wow, that's what we are. A dispenser of divine gifts. That's who you are. What it's saying is that the gifts are already within you. Your role here is dispense them, share them, give them. So much, if everything is within us, then what we're really called to do is participate in this natural process of allowing it to flow out from our lives. To sort of be involved in those wonderful words that we could say, sharing, radiating, circulating, blessing, expressing, yes, giving. All these kind of things. That which we give out comes back to us in abundance. The beautiful passage of Scripture that's so commonly misinterpreted. It says, as you keep on casting your bread upon the water, it will come back to you. It's going to come back to you multiplied. It's going to come back to you in this beautiful spiritual principle of the ancient truths that says this bread that you're casting is not a loaf of bread. You're not casting out bread to feed the fish. That's not what it's all about. It's not in the physical realm. What that bread is, the bread of new understanding. That bread that is symbolic of this wonderful truth that feeds you and nurtures you. And when you keep casting out that which you know, that which you believe, that which you trust for, you keep putting it out, it's going to come back out in the waters and it comes back to you. Have you ever thrown something out into the ocean waves only to find the tide bringing it right back in? So it is in that spiritual journey of our lives. We understand this truth that which you keep putting out is going to come back to you in wonderful blessings. It's going to come back to you multiplied. So the real question is, as we understand the divine source within us and its unlimited possibilities, well, then we start radiating it. We start sharing it. We start giving it. We start circulating it. We start expressing it in powerful ways. And as we do, we find then that there is a multiplication and a blessing. Now, so many people say to me, but I only have this. This is all I have. Oh, and I love it because thousands of years ago, the Bible already answered that question when you bring up that thought that says, this is all I have. How many of you remember the stories of Jesus feeding the 5,000? It's listed in all the four Gospels, so you may have read that and heard it or heard people express it, of Jesus taking what was given to him in that moment of facing a crowd of thousands of people who were hungry and wondering how they could be fed, taking simple fishes and loaves and breaking them and dispersing them. But how many of you have heard of the story of Jesus feeding the 4,000? We don't often talk about that one because a lot of people are just, oh, the feeding of the 5,000 is it. Yet that same story is echoed in two other Gospels, echoed over and over again. Why is this story repeated again in almost the same context? One is a group of 5,000, the other is a group of 4,000. One group was on one side of the Sea of Galilee, a very strong focus of those of a Jewish tradition. The other side of the Sea of Galilee, where the 4,000 were the people of a Gentile tradition. You see, this spiritual truth says, I want to make sure you get this. And I want to make sure you understand that it's not just for a few people. And it wasn't just for Jews. And it wasn't for just a select group. And it wasn't just for those who are sacred people or holier than, or whatever you may want to attach, an idea that this concept works for only certain people but not for you. So it's repeated over and again, and I want to tell you this, that's why Bible themes, messages of spiritual truth are repeated over and over again with different characters. Same old story, same old message of victory, of overcoming, of the power of God within, the divine source within. Here's the story of Jesus feeding the 4,000 who were hungry. And the scripture says that he had compassion. And he is, in the same context, asked, what do you have? Now, in this case, there were 7 loaves and a few fish. Wow, okay. Jesus got a little more to work with this time, right? Before it was just 5 loaves and 2 fishes, also equaling the number 7. Little symbolism, that makes you go, what's going on? That we see the same story told in similar ways, with similar messages and similar metaphors, as it's trying to get across to us this wonderful, powerful spiritual truth. So he's given 7 loaves and a few fish, and in the end, all are fed. Thousands are fed to the fullness, and there are 7 baskets left over. Now, in one story, feeding the 5,000, 5 loaves, 2 fishes, equaling 7, and there are 12 baskets, enough for all 12 tribes, symbolizing all the 12s that you may see, symbolizing 12 disciples, 12 months of the year, all the 12, meaning that everybody, everything is completely covered. Now, in the other story, it's 7, and the symbolism there is that there are 7 baskets left over, and 7, we understand, is that number for perfection and completion. What is this story saying to us, and what does this mean? Whatever you've been given, take it, bless it, break it, share it, circulate it, radiate it, give it, because it's perfect, it's complete, it's enough. Wait a minute, what I have is enough? Why, my world around me is constantly telling me I don't have enough. I mean, look at me. I'm driving a used car, and I live in a house that needs some repairs, or you may say, or I'm living in an apartment. How do you say I have enough? I'm living on a fixed income. How do you say I have enough? Oh, when we realize that our source is not this physical realm, I have enough because the source is divine within, and everything that I need is already present. So I work with what I have. How important it is we understand that, because a lot of us say, I will do great things when I win the lottery. I'm going to do really great things when I win the lottery. And you're waiting to win that lottery, and of course you're never playing because you can't believe that you're ever going to win anyway. But you're going to say that when that day does happen, you will do good things. But how about the fact that I tell you, you just won the lottery today? And whatever you have in your pocket, in your wallet, in your purse is your winnings. And you get to share, give, and express that abundance. Oh, wait a minute. This isn't enough. I thought I was going to have millions and millions and millions if I won the lottery. Well, it's that idea then you believe that those millions are your source. Those millions are your God. Those millions are what you believe in. But when we believe in the divine, that's where what we share, what is given, is multiplied and blessed. The key is working with what we have. And to embody this idea fully, embody it, live it, embrace it so much that says, I know the divine source is within me, and I live it out, that I can walk in great faith, believing and knowing that it's going to be there for me. Because let me tell you this, I'm going to advise you that there's one state that I'd like you not to move to, okay? I'm going to advise you right now that there's one state you should not live in. Okay, there's a state that's, it's really, I'm warning you as your pastor and as your shepherd to say, stay away from this state. It's the state of not having. That's right. The state of not having. Because when we live in that state and we find our residence there and our home there, then we begin to believe, I don't have. I just don't have, and I can't. And it's not possible. And suddenly we have closed out the divine source as being that true source of our life. We've shut out those connections to it for it to operate and to unfold in our lives because we've already claimed, I don't have it. How many of you watched the Olympics? You may have seen several of the different athletes and their stories. And some of them have actually said and unfolded for us, I screwed up. And the minute I fell or slipped or fell or failed at it, I gave up. I quit. Because that was their mindset. I'm not going to have a gold medal, so I quit. Some of them just did whatever they could to end out the race, feeling that sense of failure overwhelming their lives. And then there's others who said, you know what? I fell, but I got up, and I did a few more triple axels and sow-cows and jumps and leaps or whatever it may be, or I went down the slopes at a faster pace, or I made up time, or I did something that was outstanding and world-renowned because I didn't give up. I believed that I had it in me. Now that's the difference. Living in the state of I don't have, or not having, or living in the state of that I have it, I own it, and it's mine to share. I want to tell you this, that when we come to these wonderful places in our lives, we find that there is infinite blessing because we know where our source is. And one of the saddest things is when we encounter these people who put their faith in everything else outside of them instead of the divine within them. And so they're looking here, there, everywhere. They're trying to find that perfect peace. They're trying to find something. They're looking outside when life is inside out. Life wants to do something unusual for us that we may not always be aware of, and that is to divert energy from places that are not willing to invest. We look around nature and it says, you know what? A tree wants to grow, but if it's not going to grow in a certain way, it's going to find its own way, right? And we've got some twisted sisters out there is what we call them, as these trees that kind of bend and find their way and move. But nature will say, if it's not going to go this way, I'm going to go that way. How about water? Have you not seen water find the path of least resistance? And when resistance comes against it, what does the water say? I'm going to stop, I quit, I give up? The water says, I'll find a new pathway. All of nature around us is speaking to us and telling us that if you're not willing to invest, I'll find another way. And so it is that the very universe is saying to us, if you want to believe for your highest and best, it's there. But if you're not willing, well, that energy will go elsewhere. Because there are people who say, I am open and ready to receive. As we sang today, I am opening up. I am opening up. I am opening up, and I'm ready to receive. And I allow that divine power and presence to channel and work through me. When a branch is dying, the energy of that tree goes elsewhere, doesn't it? And it allows that branch to die and fold off and finally fall off and be pruned away. So it is in nature, and you too are part of this nature, this universe. And those same spiritual laws that we find in the gardens outside, in the yard outside, in the ravine around us, we find those things at work, they're at work within our lives. Anything that limits the expansion of life and its power to expand, to bless, to work, is going to be removed. It's going to be set aside, shall we say, because it will be bypassed. So here it is within our life that these wonderful blessings are available for us. They're freely given, demonstrated over and over again. Story after story of the ancients. And I don't care which pathway you're going to look through, you're going to find the ancient truth unfolding for us that blessing is there for you when you acknowledge that this within is my divine source, not the limitations around me. And I am unlimited, and I allow. So the question is, do you use it? Or do you lose it? Because when we put into action that which you already have, and when we begin to share and give and radiate and circulate and express and give out all of these wonderful things, more comes to us. It multiplies within us. I want to tell you this, that divine source is so wonderful and so beautiful and so powerful, and it's waiting there for you to tap into today. You just need to tap into the power that's there waiting within your heart and your life. And life will reward us by giving us even more than to use. Even more is given. We find numerous stories within the ancient texts of the scripture talking about those who were given something to invest, and those who did invest, more was given. How about the story of the widow who was confronted by the prophet who said, all I have left to my name is this little bit of oil and flour. That is it. I'm going to make a cake for my son and I, and we're going to die, and that's going to be it. We've ended it all. And the prophet invites her to this wonderful opportunity. If you give what you have, the divine source that's within you, the power and presence of God within you is going to multiply and bless. And in a heart of openness and willingness and desire, she made that cake for the prophet. And the story unfolds that she was blessed then with oil and meal, plenty, to care for her many days. There was an unlimited supply that was there. And if we understand the divine source, so when you're confronted and someone says, where'd you hear that? Where'd you get that? How did you understand that? What's your source? What will you say? Oh, I know the divine source. It's within me. And I radiate it. I circulate it. I express it. I give of all that is given to me. I share back knowing it's multiplied. Amen.